Hello?
Just me, or did we lose Nora's audio?
You lost me.
Yes,
Good to see
somehow
you,
I
Dave.
got muted, so we'll start again.
Yep.
Give this to Earl. Okay.
You want me to?
Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and that it is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 at SEC of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting can also be accessed through the township website using the WebEx link. I apologize. Where's my other? This announcement is for members of the public who have joined this meeting on their computer and selected to use the phone option for audio. If you dialed into the system using your phone, you will not be able to raise your hand to comment. To have the ability to raise your hand and comment, you must do the following. Leave the meeting, rejoin the meeting. When selecting audio, choose the option to have the system call you and input the number you wish to be called on. This option will pair your computer with your phone and will allow you to raise your hand if you wish to comment during the public session.
Okay, thank you, Nora. Roll call, please.
Mr. Berkowitz,
Here.
Mr. Joskowitz. We know he's here.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
Mr. Kaplan,
Yep.
Mr. Parikh,
Here.
Mr. Prasad,
Here.
Mr. Reddy,
Present.
Ms. Snyder, Mr. Willens,
Here.
and possibly Chairman Ira Kane.
I don't see him.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
You gonna go ahead with it, Davey?
Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody's gotta do it, I guess, right? Well, we skipped the Pledge of Allegiance. The meeting is open to the general public. Anybody who is online who has anything to say about any case that's not on tonight's agenda should raise their hand. Any hands raised?
There are no hands raised.
Seeing none, I'll move on.
Bernie, before you do, I would say just, we aren't saying the pledge because we don't have the flag, we're not informed, but I do think with the events of the past few days in our country here, clearly this team works very hard and our township should be very proud of our police department. Everything goes on here and we are a united country. Our board, I think, is a reflection or microcosm of our community. And I hope that we will continue to move forward as a team unified and a group of American citizens doing what's best for all of us in our community. So with that, I'll shut up. Okay.
Well said and should be made formally part of the record. I don't have the correspondence. You never sent that in the package.
That's because I sent it to Bob and to Pete. Is Pete here? Did we lose
Yeah.
him?
I'm here.
Okay.
Peter, you want to make us aware of the correspondence?
Yeah, we have a letter from the attorney for the 7-Eleven. They don't have the consent of the property owner. As a result, we are going to have to take a vote to deny their application without prejudice is what they're asking for, because they don't have consent to move forward. So essentially, they're withdrawing the application at this time.
All right, so should we take a
Yeah.
vote now or?
Yeah, we can take a vote now, and then I'll
Do we have
formally
to
put
do
it
by-
in.
Do we have to do it by resolution or?
Yeah, I would do that. I mean, this was a significant application. So we'll take the vote and then I'll have a resolution for you at next meeting.
All right. So do I have a motion to dismiss case, I don't know the number here.
1774.
So moved.
That was a good year.
Second, Eddie.
1774 to be dismissed without prejudice.
So moved, Willens. Second ready.
I guess call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
And then
I don't know if you need a formal roll call because of the resolution. but we'll take the roll call, before roll call when we pass the resolution.
Okay,
There's also an April 15th, 2021, a letter from David Brady requesting application 2020 Jihad Zidane 250 Park Road, Block 98, Lot 51.03 be carried to July 28th, 2021 without further notice and with required extensions for the board of, for the board to make the decision.
Do they give a reason for such a
Before you
long
discuss
extension?
it, Bernie, this is John Chadwick.
Okay,
I reviewed this back in September. In my opinion, he required a use variance. I don't know how their notice was set up because it specifically prohibits trailers in the front yard, which is what this proposal is.
the applicant ended up switching attorneys. Their planner was not available for this evening, and the reason they are booked so far out because was the next available.
I'm
opening.
not questioning time.
okay.
Do you know
No, but
whether
Bernie
they,
did.
do you know whether they noticed for use?
I'd have to go back and double check on that. And I
why don't we
apologize. I'm a little out of it tonight. Had my second shot, and my head is
Oh,
pounding.
boy. Maybe you could just make a note and let them know.
I will.
Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I guess we can grant the extension subject to confirmation that the notice is for the use variance is proper.
Yep.
That sound
I
right?
missed the case number on this. Which one is this?
2020,
2020?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 2020. All right, so I get your motion to move this matter to July 28th, 2021 without further notice, subject to confirmation that the notice given was correct.
So moved.
Second?
Who made the motion?
Second, Eddie.
Kaplan made the motion.
Okay,
Thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Not any opposed, so it passed unanimously. That brings us to resolutions. We want to move them one at a time or all together?
It can be
All
done all
together.
together.
All right, so I guess if somebody wants to move all the three resolutions for naming the cases.
Mr. Chairman, I move the application approval of application number 2036, 2059, 2102, in accordance with the resolutions permitted as written under memo of resolutions who can vote.
Second, Eddie.
Okay, I guess you got to call a roll on this.
Mhm.
Yes.
Berkowitz,
Yes,
Jaskowitz, Prasad,
Yeah.
Reddy,
Yes.
Willens.
Yes.
You skipped me.
Who did I skip? You were not eligible.
Ah, got it.
Luis.
Okay.
Okay.
For all three?
He would never skip you, Mr. Kaplan.
If you did, I'd let you know about it too.
Yeah, right.
all right, so now we can go on to, I guess, the agenda. Zeldin is off to the 28th. Next case is Mohammed Nassar, application 20:60, 199 Camden Road. Mr. Nassar, are you on?
Yes, sir. Evening.
Did you raise your right hand?
Have to
Could you-
listen to our attorney.
Do you have an attorney?
I do not have an attorney, no. sir.
Okay, just raise your right hand. You swear affirm testimony you're about to give before the board is true so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
And for the record, you're the owner of the subject property?
Yes, I am.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the witness and the applicant has been sworn.
All right, well, Mr. Nasser, why don't you tell us what you want to do and why you want to do it?
So, sir, the fence that I have in the property now is actually falling apart. I wanted to update from wood into vinyl. I want
Mr. Nasser, I'm having a very difficult time hearing you. If you could
Can
speak into the
you speak
mic.
a little louder or closer to
Yes,
your
sir.
microphone?
Yes. So the old fence that's on the property now is a wooden fence, and the fence is falling apart. Are you guys able to hear me now better?
Yes, thank you.
Very good. The fence is falling apart, so I wanted to update the fence into a vinyl fence. And I wanted to, there was an old shed that was on the property, supposedly. It was removed, and I wanted to put a new shed onto the property.
Was there a foundation where the old shed was?
No, there was not.
Are you planning on putting a foundation in for this shed?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You have a corner lot, correct?
Yes, sir.
How tall is the fence that you want to take down?
It's 6 foot.
So you want to play 6 foot with 6 foot?
Yes, sir.
Because
So
normally
if-
we don't allow 6
I'm
foot
not
fences.
sure. I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen the property, but the property sits on a flat land, and it sits even with the other properties. But on the houses next to me across the street, two of the properties are sitting higher on a mountain or on a higher land, and those property they can see right through my backyard, and they can see because there's a swimming pool in the property. They can actually see the swimming pool and see the whole entire yard. I mean, the whole street could see it. So I'm hoping, with the fence, I can get some type of privacy in the backyard. And with the updating, so
Do you know whether that's true or not? That with the 6 foot fence, you'll have the privacy you want?
I'm not really exactly sure. But the thing is that the fence that's there now is falling apart. So the top of some of it is broken, and some of the bottom is also damaged. So I'm hoping that with the new vinyl fence, I'll get maybe it'll be the same exact size, or maybe not. I'm not really sure, but I do know that it's 6 foot standard for the fence, the highest I can go.
Mr. Nessa, the other thing is that the fence you're proposing is actually on the front part of the alleyway road, and so it's like a front yard fence?
It's not really. I mean, it's the side of the house. I mean, I guess it's considered the front yard because I'm on the corner lot, but the pool and the back, my patio is all next to that fence.
Yeah, got that, but you basically, unfortunately, have two front yards in a sense.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the big concern on the 6 foot fence has always been on the street side, okay? So you want to put a solid fence in. That's why you need a variance. Would it be, and what we have done in many cases, is you have 4 foot solid and then a 1 or 2 foot latticing or see-through at the top. So it's not a solid 6 foot. Would that serve your purpose?
No, the only see-through fence actually where the front of the house is. So if you actually see the house,
Okay.
when you walk in front of the house, there's a see-through metal fence. And then on the side of the house, which is also considered the front of the house, there's a wooden, full fence there.
Understood. That's what you want to replace.
Yes, sir.
Any other board members have questions or anybody else?
Mr. Burkle, you've had a lot of fences in the front yard of this board.
Hold on
The
one second.
common denominator
So you
is the
don't hear me?
fence you described,
Now then.
a 4-foot
Oh.
solid with a foot of lattice on the top. And
Yeah, but he's trying to get some privacy from higher ground next to him. So having the lattice on
I
top,
think,
not
I
gonna
think
do it.
I think he's got to show you that then to prove that there would be a difference between a 5-foot and a 6-foot fence from across the street. If you
How
want
does he do that?
Because Mr.
Go to his
Nasser,
neighbor, go to his neighbor's property and take pictures?
yeah, Mr. Nasser, I think
Yes, sir.
what you have to do to convince the board is ask your neighbor if you could stand on his front steps or so, however that they would be looking at your yard and take a picture.
Just-
Mr. Chadwick, I like that idea, but before, Mr. Astor, just for clarification, you currently have a 6-foot fence, solid wood, but it's falling apart in many places, correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
Okay. And so the board's point of consideration here or concern is a 6-foot solid fence on a street. We understand your condition, but would you be opposed to a 5-foot with latticing on the top if that were part of the condition for approval?
So I already have the 6-foot. I would have to purchase a fence, which is ridiculously expensive.
So you've already purchased a 6-foot vinyl fence?
Yes, sir, I did. It's actually passed.
But it's not installed?
It's correct.
Make you freezing. I know.
That's a tough one.
Honestly, if I put the vinyl fence that I have now, I'll probably still not get the privacy that I'm looking for. My huge main concern is to replace that old fence that I have there now. The reason why is because I have a big dog, and she's still a puppy, so she's not really. So if she sees other dogs, she starts to run to see the other dogs. So I'm afraid if, God forbid, one of the broken fence literally falls off, or she pushes it or something, and she runs in the street. God forbid she gets hit by a car, or she goes to another dog, and I'm not sure exactly how she would be with other dogs. She's still a puppy, so that's one of my main concern. But I do believe that if I do put the new fence, it's just gonna create a better privacy. Because if you look at the fence that I have now, some of the wood that's on top, it's literally missing from the fence. So literally if you walk the street and you stand on the sidewalk, you could actually see the inside of my back. The only thing is that I probably know that I probably would not get a privacy is from those 2-3 houses that sits on top of that hill area. Those are probably the only 2 houses that I'm ever get privacy from. So.
Anybody have anything else?
Well, I guess now to the shed. You had a shed there supposedly before, but there's no foundation. You're gonna put a shed in now, right?
Yes, sir.
So where are you storing your stuff for the pool now?
It's inside of my house, garage.
Okay.
Outside back.
And looking at where you're proposing, the other variance you need there is because that shed is too close to the property line. Have your neighbors or the street, that's on the street side again. You can't move it back a little bit more?
I can move it back a little bit more, but the thing is that putting still inside the property where the fence is.
Okay.
It's not really affecting a neighbor, so I think a couple of feet one way or the other is not gonna matter.
No, I agree. Yeah, just asking.
Where was the shed before you took it down?
Well, I'm not sure. The realtor that I bought the property from, she told me that there's a fence there. So I honestly don't know where exactly is. But there's pieces of old railing, wood railing that's in the ground that's there. So I'm guessing it was probably sitting on top of there, but I'm not really sure to be exact, and I don't want to make things up. So I don't know exactly, to be honest with you.
Which view are you trying to block? The people from across the street? The other side of Camden?
No, not on Camden. On
Alloway,
Side Road. Out, yes.
Alloway, yeah.
The people
Holloway.
across the street from that road, from
Sir.
that view.
Yes, sir.
Well, why don't you move that shed up next to your patio? And you'll certainly have privacy then.
Yeah, that's a good idea as well. I could think of that. But if I put the shed
Well, you don't
there,
have to put it tight up next to the patio, but you know, you certainly would have to get some more privacy back there, that's for sure.
yeah, but if I put the shed there,
Good idea, Mr. Chadwick.
away the backyard, and I wouldn't have no yard.
Are we froze up again?
Ooh,
Hello.
where is he?
Froze up again.
There you are.
I still see everybody.
You okay, Davey? Are you with us?
Davey is with us. He's moving around.
Yeah, but he's not really responding.
He has low bandwidth.
Anybody hear anybody?
Okay, you back? You can't hear us?
I can hear everybody.
Davey's looking like he can't hear us.
Nora advised that he has low bandwidth, so like he may be having a problem with the audio.
Anybody else on the board have any comments or questions? All right. Mr. Nasser, you have anything else you want to say or add?
No, I appreciate the time. That's pretty much it. I don't have any much to say. I'm just really trying to fix my property and make it look decent, and make sure that my dog stays in the backyard. Other than that, I'm just, I appreciate.
So we have two issues here. We have the shed, and that's triggering the impervious coverage, correct? That's the only issue with the shed?
Well,
Yeah.
like I said, the shed is
No,
near
the
the
shed is
property
all
line, but
violated,
it's
it
got
can't be in the front yard to begin with.
yeah. And he's got 2 front yards.
Right.
He's got nowhere else really to put the
I
shed.
mean, it's gonna be in a front yard, pretty much.
If he moves it somewhere else in the front yard, he's basically gonna lose his yard area for for his kids to play in. So I don't think it matters too much where the shed is, since it's next to a street, not somebody's property.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the shed. We obviously were in a tough spot with the fence, which he's already purchased. And our long track record of not approving 6-foot fences.
Well, the fence that's there now is 6 foot.
Doesn't mean we approved it, though. That's the only problem.
I'm sorry.
It doesn't necessarily mean we approved that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it could have been there a long time.
So would this be a pre-existing condition consideration?
Well, we have no evidence as to how long the fence was there, or when it was built.
It
It
definitely
depends. It depends when it was installed. If it pre-existed the ordinance.
It's highly unlikely a wood fence is 70 years old. Is that your is 54?
So it's probably not a pre-existing
Okay.
use.
Well, when was the first zoning one?
54.
Oh, okay.
But for my edification, just to make sure, the 6-foot fence, we don't allow on the street side. We still have solid 6-foot fences in other parts of properties, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And where it's located, it doesn't affect traffic at all or visibility for turns on the from one road to the next.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Well, we usually get some kind of statement from the police department confirming that. Is that something we should ask for?
I mean, I'm a police officer myself.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I don't think you should be the one to do that, though.
We can make that a requirement of the resolution.
The alternative, you have done a fence and set it a couple feet off the property line and had some landscaping between the fence and the property line to soften that view from the street. You might want to discuss that with Mr. Nass.
Mr. Nassau, you understand that proposal?
Sorry, I
Move the
didn't
fence-
understand.
Okay.
So when I put where the fence is gonna be, you're looking at least 30 feet away from the corner of Camden and Alloway. So there's a huge, I mean, you could, 2 or 3 cars can actually see the oncoming traffic.
I'm not talking about sight distance. I'm just talking about disguising this fence from the roadside. The point is, the policy of the town is not to have fences in the front yard. And if you do, they can only be 4 feet high and a picket fence or a rail fence. Yours is obviously not that. So I'm suggesting the board has asked
So
to move the fence a little bit off their property line, then put some shrubbery along, not completely block it, but accent type shrubbery, which makes the appearance from the road much different.
So if you're standing on Camden Road facing my house, there is a railing fence that you can see right through the fence. That one I'm not gonna change.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna keep what I'm trying to replace is the one on the side of Alloway. That's
You're gonna bring it back, you're gonna bring it back to the corner of your house too. You start at the corner of your house, go out to Alloway and then up Alloway.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you still going to
Along
have,
Alloway is the variance. And I guess you're saying you really prefer not to move the fence off your property line and put any landscaping there.
I would.
Are you open to that?
If I can, because if I put landscape in there, my dog will run out of
The landscaping is going to be on the outside of the fence.
It'll be,
Mr. Chadwick's proposal is you move the fence back a couple, 3 feet. In front of the fence, between the fence and the street, you put some landscaping to subdue the look from the residents in the neighborhood for the
yeah,
6-foot
throw
fence.
some of those, those ornamental grasses and thing, that'll really soften it.
Would you be willing to do that if we approved it?
I'm
as a
sorry.
Condition.
If I put landscaping on Alloway, is that what you're saying?
Yes, you
Okay,
put
I'll
up the
set the
fence,
fence.
you move the fence
Yeah,
back a
so-
couple, 3 feet from where you're proposing on Alloway. Outside of the fence, between the fence and Alloway, you put some landscaping to soften the look of the solid fence.
Okay, I probably won't be able to do 3 feet into the property. The reason being is because the pool sits right by the fence. So I would have to remove all that and move it up. That means I have to dig into the ground and break the cement that's from the pool to shorten the pipes for the filter of the pool.
Your survey doesn't show this at all.
No, it doesn't.
I didn't even know you had a pool.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's on the survey.
You got
Yeah.
a square that looks like somebody drew it in. It's over in the corner, but it's not up next to the fence.
The pool is in the back.
Oh, it says pool really small.
Yeah, where it says block 217, that square is the pool. To
That's
the right,
pool, yeah.
the
Yes.
top right corner, all the way to the right, there's a little box that was drawn in. To the planner's comment, it's not to scale, so it doesn't show really what the location is.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's about a foot away from the fence. So I mean, I don't mind moving the fence a foot closer. I don't mind doing that if that's going to approve to get more of the side, because I can get more of the house. It's just that I just don't want to lose the backyard. I mean, I don't have. If you see the house now, I literally have no backyard at all, for like any grass and things like that. And I actually like the grass, and I like the plants, and I like landscaping and things like that. So that would be the only concern that I have. I mean, I'm okay moving the fence a foot closer into the house to be closer to the filter of the pool. I'm okay doing that if that's okay with you guys.
Is a foot's not enough to plant something really.
It'll be tight.
It's gonna be really, really tight. It's already tight as it is. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Well,
This is why I'm here today, to try to get some help and see what's the best that I could do. Because honestly, I don't have any room at all for the yard. So,
Okay, so could I try one thing here? Obviously, we appreciate your dilemma. We're trying to work with you here, but we also have ordinances to enforce, and that's why we have them. So in summary, your proposal as written has the proposed fence right on your current property line. Is that correct, along alleyway?
yes.
Okay, so that's an issue. So you can bring it back in a bit, okay? But the issue you'll have then is the current, and I understand the pool situation, the current pool filter system and heater is within 1 foot of your property line there?
It's just about 1 foot away from the fence that's there now.
Okay. All right, and the fence is there now is right on your property line where is the one you're gonna plan to replace, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you have plenty of room in the other part of the property, Mr. Nassau, to move the fence in, but when you get back to the corner where the pool equipment, that heater is, you would not be able to move it in too much more, but you could angle the fence a little bit, could you not?
I can angle the fence going down toward Campbell.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Angle it down, so you have a little more space there. You could put some landscaping out in front of that, okay, if that were a condition of the approval, okay?
Sure.
And then you're also considering and would agree to move the shed up closer to the pool area in the back.
Sure.
Okay. If those were two conditions and the board approved it with those conditions, you would be amenable to that. Is that correct?
you really want him to move the shed?
Well, I think the shed, the shed's not there now, Bernie, okay?
Yeah, no, it's not there now, but I'm just thinking,
The shed is there now.
yeah, the shed is up?
Yeah, the shed is there now. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Where's the shed? Can you point that out?
It's right on the side of the house. So if you're on Alloway, you can see it on the side of the house.
It appears the shed was shown as part of his survey.
Okay. Alrighty.
I mean, I can definitely angle the fence on the side going toward the shed. I could definitely angle that closer to the shed, and I could put landscaping there. Absolutely, there's no problem at all. The only issue that I'm gonna have, I'll be honest with you, is the area where the filter and the heater is. That's going to give me a huge problem because
So, yeah, but that's just one spot on a whole, you know, long, what, 50 feet, 30 feet?
from Camden and the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 30 to 40 feet, probably maybe a little longer, wider, longer than that. And there's nothing there. I'm actually planning on putting landscaping there.
Excuse me, is there a retaining wall in the back of your property?
No, there isn't. There is just another fence there.
Well, there's something on the plan that you gave that is behind your pool. Is that a pipe?
By
Behind your pool, there's something drawn on your survey.
it's a fence.
It's labeled as a wall.
I think it's a wall.
So that's what I asked. He said no, though.
No, there's no wall. There's no wall at all. I don't have any walls around the pool. All I have is the fence in the front, the fence on the side, and then the right behind
So,
the back of the yard.
so that's the fence in the back of the pool.
Yes.
How old is this pool?
I think when I purchased the house, the inspector came and he said about 20 years old.
So it was there when you bought the house.
Oh,
Did you make any patios or anything around it?
no, I didn't make anything. I didn't do anything at all.
All right, so
guess-
I have to ask if there's any members of the public who want to speak or in favor of this application or against this application. Raise your hand. Any hands raised?
There are no hands raised.
Okay.
I have a
Somebody wanna-
question on the date of the survey. It says 2017, were the pool water heater and the shed installed at that date? I'm just wondering why it wasn't shown on the survey.
So the water heat actually was installed. It's been there as long as the pool.
Interesting, 'cause the survey isn't that old, and I just see all the markings. Who penciled in the all the other information and notes?
I'm not sure. That's the way the survey is the way that I got it when I first came into a well for the
To explain why so inaccurate.
Doesn't say it's certified. Mm. When did you purchase the property?
November of last year.
Okay. So this survey was done before you owned the property, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think that right now, you purchased property and have some conditions you weren't aware of, and you're trying to improve the property, I believe, for the betterment of the area. You're going to replace a bad looking fence with a new fence. But you have some zoning issues here. So Mr. King or Mr. Chadwick, how should, can you direct the board here on how to move forward? If we wanted to try and approve this, he's agreed to move the fence back and put some landscaping out in front. Is it, Can we approve of those conditions if you rewrite the proposal that way?
I mean, I think what John had said in the beginning, what our position always has been 4 foot with lattice on top. I think what John was saying to try to get the 6 foot, the board may need more documents, i.e. pictures, to show that he truly does need that 6 foot solid fence. If he does do that, then I think you can kind of mitigate it, as John pointed out, to bring back the fence at least in the front 3 foot, and then start to taper back, as you had said, in the back, so there is some type of planting to soften that fence.
Mr. Nassar, could you provide those photographic evidences?
I can definitely provide that, but I mean, if you guys have a minute, if you guys want to look at Google Map, you can actually see the street and you can see the house. Look at the house on Holloway, you can actually look and you can see the entire backyard from Google Map.
Unfortunately, we can't do that.
Okay.
That has to be in evidence, so.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's not evidentiary.
Sure. I could take pictures and provide it to you guys, however you guys want me to do so.
So does that mean we're gonna postpone this?
Well, that's one option. The other option would be put a conditional approval on, assuming that is satisfactorily met. Can we do that, Mr. King?
I think the best course is just to carry this until you get those pictures, bring it back for, one more time, because once you get those pictures, you may have more questions. And also, Mr. Nassar, if you could take pictures of that pool equipment, so the board can see where it is and how far away it is from the current fence.
Sure.
It wouldn't hurt to get an updated survey either, or at least give it an attempt to draw it into scale to see what we're working with or how the fence is going to be modified.
So this is going to be delayed again, because I was supposed to do this meeting. Had COVID and from work, so it was just hard for me to get things done. So I'm looking at another. Looking at it again.
Nora, can we squeeze this on someplace? Because it should be about a half hour. Or less.
This should be no more than 15 minutes.
It should be 15 minutes.
We are packed. Hold on.
We're popular again, huh?
I mean, if you could put it in, how are we look, Nora, at the next meeting? I mean, this is not going to take long. We've heard all the testimony. It's really a matter of looking at the pictures and making a determination.
We have a couple of code enforcements that we've carried to the next meeting, 3 of them, plus 3 new residentials. And if you want to try to squeeze it in, up to you.
What's that, May 5th?
I'm sorry,
Is that May 5th?
May 5th. I mean, these meetings are packed tight.
Well, we could just work faster, that's all.
You know what, would it be horrible to put them on May 19th? It's a huge meeting, huge applications on there, but it might work better than the other one, the other date.
Okay.
I
So
mean,
you're
I hate to put them off, but
You're
the
talking about
large
1 month.
application of that night will be carried.
You're talking about 1 month.
I'm actually holding up a lot of time, and I mean, if that's the final, yeah, I guess I have no other say. But
How do we want to handle? How do you want to have them submit the pictures and then make copies of them, or how do you want to handle this?
Yes, he
has the ability to show us the pictures.
make the
They
pictures.
should be mailed out to us.
Yeah, yes, he should make the pictures and send it to Nora, and then she'll send them out to each individual board member.
Okay.
You can have them before, you can review them, so the process will go quicker.
Or if you want to do it that way, I mean, we want to try to put it on our next meeting, May 5th.
Yeah, I would vote for that. We could squeeze it in. If
you
he
keep
gets,
it
that'll give
super,
him 2
super
weeks to get.
short.
I can get
Just
the
gotta get
pictures.
the pictures.
Okay. And Mr. Nassau, do you also need to have the pictures, as Mr. Chadwick said, or Mr. King said, in the backyard to show us that, because the current survey is missing some stuff for us to make a decision on.
I can take
Okay.
the pictures tomorrow and I could drop it off to, or I can email tomorrow.
Good,
Great, thank you.
because she sends out the packages to us early. So
Okay.
they'll be in there. So I have a motion to carry this case to May 5th.
So moved.
No further notice?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. All right, so you're gonna get us pictures and we'll see you again on May 5th.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
You too, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, guess the next case is Harish Karani. See variance to construct and install a basketball court, an above-ground pool, and a hot tub. Are you with us, Mr. Karani?
Yes, I am, sir.
Sir, you raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before the board, true self you got?
Yes.
And for the record, you're Harish Karani,
Yes, sir.
and you're the owner of the subject property,
Correct.
and you're not represented by an attorney, correct?
No, I'm not represented by an
Thank-
attorney.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mr.
All right, he's sworn.
Mr. Chairman, he has been sworn.
Do you have any other witnesses or it's just gonna be you?
Just me.
All right, so why don't you tell us what you want to do and why you want to do it?
Okay, I want to install a basketball. I want to install a patio and put a basketball hoop, goalpost there in my backyard because I have a sloping driveway. It slopes. The slope is quite severe. It's not a gentle slope. It's about 25, 30 degrees. It's you know it's not a slope that anyone can play basketball on. So my son, he's actually with me. We are in the car. We're going somewhere. We are, so he's 13 years old. He wants to play basketball. He cannot really go and play. He used to play in town at the PAL gym. It's closed now. This whole year went by. This is his favorite sport. He likes that. So so I decided that I want to put a basketball court in my backyard because my backyard is flat where I'm putting the court, and it's going to be the most safest place to play basically. And I'm also installing. I'm also asking for a variance for an above ground pool because my daughter likes to swim and she hasn't no swimming pool right now is open, and it's I know we are in COVID, we have vaccines now, but there are new variants in play now, and I think for the next few years, I think 2-3 years at least, public pools are not going to be open. And I've lived in this town. I've lived in this house for 17 years. I never needed to put a pool there or a basketball court because I had other options. Right now, I don't have. My kids don't have any options. So that is why I'm putting in and I'm applying for a variance.
Okay. I guess where you want to put the basketball court, what kind of fencing is there?
I have a chain link fence, which I just put in. Like about a month ago, I had applied for a permit. I got the permit, and I put a chain link fence in the back, and it is 6 foot tall chain link fence in the back. In the front, or actually not the front, the side of the house that faces the part in the back, which faces the street, I have a 4 foot fence, and it's also like, like straight lines. It's not a chain link. It's basically see-through, like you can see through it, but it's like white color rods. I don't know how to say it in technical terms. And it's the fence that I installed is pool code.
And do you have a neighbor on that side?
Yes, I do have a neighbor on the side. I have a neighbor on my left and my right. I don't have any neighbors in the back at all.
Okay.
So the neighbor, the basketball fence, the basketball patio is gonna go on the left side of the house. If you're facing and looking at the house from the street, it's gonna be on the left side of the house. And basically it's going to be 7 feet away, which is the code for me to do anything. I have to be 7 feet away from the property line, my property line. So I have a fence which is, I think, 6 inches, or it's pool code and it's 6 inches. Then between the fence and the patio, where between the fence and where the concrete patio will start, there'll be about 5 feet of space. There'll be like just grass, and then I'll have a patio, which will have a goalpost for the basketball, and after that, right behind my house will be the swimming pool above ground, and the size of the pool is 30 by 15. It's oval, and right after that is going to be a 8-foot hot tub, right next to the pool, and that's it.
Have you discussed or have you talked to your neighbor
Yes.
next door that there's going to be a basketball court there?
Yeah,
And what do they say?
they have no objection.
Okay.
They're actually
yeah.
excited about. My neighbor actually called me because one of my neighbors does not live at this property anymore. He's the owner, but he doesn't live there. He has, he has rented the house out to someone, and I know that their tenants as well very well because they are my neighbors. They've been there for, I would say, at least 5-6 years, and they're so basically that tenant said it's actually a good idea having a pool and a basketball court and a hot tub. Appreciates the value of my house, and it's so it generally helps the neighborhood. I don't know if that's how accurate that is, but
Well, it's hearsay too. There's an engineering letter dated February 19th, 2021. Will you comply with what the engineer has requested?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
There's a letter from the town engineer. It's dated February 19th, 2021. Will you comply with all the requirements and?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree. Yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How are we going to address the stormwater runoff? I'd like to know that before we proceed.
So-
The stormwater runoff right now is the way I have it is basically I have a drainage in ground, like it's buried drain in my backyard, and it basically takes excess water and it goes underground and it comes out and drains to the street, and there is a drainage, a street drain. It takes all the water. Everything from my roof goes down the gutters, and then there's underground drainage.
So are you
For
going to
that
build a
as well.
drain on the basketball court so
I'm
that
sorry?
the water is going to run off from the court into the drain into the sewer?
Yes.
Was that drain put in when the house was built?
I'm sorry?
Was that drain put in when the house was
No.
built?
No,
Did you-
the drain was put in when I moved the rocks. I have like a retaining rock wall in the back. I had to move the rock wall back, and when they put the rock wall back, they moved it about 10, 11 feet back. When they did that, they said, this is a new code. When we put the rock walls, like if you put a rock retaining wall, then we have to put a drain behind it. So, it doesn't it doesn't put pressure on the rocks, I guess. I don't know. But that drain wall, that underground drain that is behind the rock wall connects to the drainage from my roof. The roof gutters come down, they go into the ground, and then they drain out to the street.
Okay,
It connects to the same one.
unless Chaz has any comment on the drain, in the resolution, it would be subject to the town engineer's approval. So he would have to work with the town engineer. The town engineer would have to approve that plan, unless, Chaz, you have any comment.
No, I agree with that. I saw the engineer's letter. What material will the basketball court be made out of?
It will be made out of concrete.
If it's tied into the drain, I think the township engineer would be the proper place to go for that.
So the person the contractor who was building, who I'm talking to build the basketball, square thingy, the square floor, that contractor said that he can basically put a drain on the edge where the patio ends. He can put a drain there, and it will connect right to the drainage. So whatever.
That sounds like a good plan.
That would be subject to then, we're deferring to the town engineer, so you'll have to get approval of that plan from the town engineer, and that will be part of the resolution.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have your
That's fine.
contractor talk to him.
I have just a couple things on your proposed plan here. The above ground pool, you have a currently existing deck off the back of your house. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, is the proposed above ground pool going to be connected to that deck at all?
Yes.
Okay, because it shows separated here, but I was going to say, obviously it should be connected. So
Yes,
this drawing is not quite to scale. Okay. And then
Okay.
the hot tub, will that also be connected to the deck?
Yes.
Okay. Then, okay, so this graphic we're looking at is a little misrepresenting, right?
Yeah, it's not
Okay, so
perfect.
if those were part of the deck, that's fine. So those, now that wouldn't be included then in the impervious coverage thing, I don't think. So, okay.
Well,
I
they
guess
do.
Pardon me?
That's the problem. They include water surfaces as impervious.
Yeah, okay,
So-
that's what I was gonna ask you, Mr. Chadwick, okay.
That,
So those two new additions, so the impervious coverage we have to approve also, which appears to be, I would say, de minimis, but anyway, there's still impervious coverage. I didn't quite understand though, if in fact the proposed above ground pool and the proposed hot tub and the court are all new, why impervious coverage is only going up by 7%.
I'm sorry. Is that a question for me?
Well, it's a question I have. I don't know who could answer for me. Maybe Mr. Chadwick can, but
I looked at the numbers and I think it's correct.
okay, very good.
It's actually, it's 30% increase.
Good point. 7% over 22%. You're right. Thank you. Okay.
There's a
Thank
couple
you, Mr.
questions
Chair.
I have. Are you going to put lights around this court?
I'm sorry.
Are you
Lights
going to
around?
put lights on the court?
I don't think so. No.
Well, it's,
Should I?
but we can't have a definite, we have to have yes or no.
No, you probably shouldn't.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think it should.
Okay.
other thing you mentioned, that you thought the court was going to be 7 feet away from the property line, and the zoning schedule says you're proposing at 5. Do you know for certain you're going to be 7 feet off your property line?
I said 7 feet away because I was told at the office. I believe Mr. John Pizza told me that because it's a concrete patio, it has to be 7 feet away from the property line. So I said, okay, I'll comply.
Well,
to whatever the rules
you
are.
got- you advertised for a variance for 5
Yeah.
feet.
Is it 5
One
feet?
only one little corner of that court would be in violation, so I just want to
Okay.
verify.
Okay.
Leave it
Yeah.
at the 5 feet,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, board members.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the other corner that's 7 feet. One corner's 7, one corner's 5.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. So on average, he meets the code.
I guess you could say that.
Okay,
Anybody else? Anything else you want to add?
I just want to make sure senior son's with him in the back seat. I want to make sure he knows how lucky he is.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
And that's my wife.
Hello. I won't be playing basketball.
You'll be swimming in the hot tub,
Daughter,
right?
I don't know if you can see her. There you go. That's the one who's gonna be swimming.
Oh.
And that's my mother-in-law.
So
We're
we
all
not.
going to a wedding in Virginia.
Oh, wow.
That's why I just pulled over so that I can have this conversation.
It's amazing what electronics can do these days.
Technology.
Is there anybody online here who's got either anything in favor or opposing this application they want to say? Raise your hand. Any hands raised, Nora?
No hands raised.
Okay. And I guess we can move on to, again, any last questions from any board members? Or you want to just discuss? Somebody want to say something about this application?
I think we have a citizen here that's going to be improving their property nicely for the immediate family and apparently for the neighborhood. And I'll be voting in favor of this approval.
Okay, can I get a motion for a resolution? Anybody?
I can do it.
You hear me?
Okay,
Application 2101, Harish Karani, 3 Battle Ridge Road, Block 15, 8, Lot 34, Zone R-1M. Recommend granting a C variance to construct and install a basketball court, above ground pool and hot tub, contrary to section 430-35, columns 8 and 13, in cooperation with the engineering department.
second,
Second, ready.
call the roll.
Berkowitz,
Yes,
Jaskowitz,
Yes.
Kaplan,
Yes.
Parikh. Parikh, unmute yourself.
Yes.
Prasad,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Willen.
Yes.
okay, it passes. We'll do the formal resolution, I don't know, at the next meeting, hopefully. And then you can get your permit.
Okay, so I have to wait till I hear from the town. Will I get something in the middle or my email?
You'll hear from Nora that the resolution's passed, and then she'll tell you what to do.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your time. And
Enjoy your wedding and drive safe.
thank you. I'll hang up now. Bye.
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 Okay, next case, moving on to is application 21 2101. Harish Karani. Well, we just did that one, I'm sorry. Application 2103, Yusha Soni. Yusha Soni, are you with us?
Yes.
There you are.
Who's gonna testify, ma'am?
Testify.
Me and my daughter both.
Okay, can you both raise your hands?
Both raise
Your
your
right
hand.
hands? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before the board is the true help you got?
Yes.
And from the left, your daughter, can you state your name?
Yeah, first name Kieran, last name Sony.
And to the right, mom, what's your last?
My last name Sony and first name Usa, USHA.
And you're the owner of the subject property?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You're sworn. You can drop your hand.
I apologize. Can I please have the daughter's name?
Can you spell your first name?
Yeah, it's Kiran.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So who's going to tell us what you want to do and why?
I can explain to you. Right now, I have the 4-car, and it's hard to fit the 3-car in my driveway because there is a tree that blocking my driveway. And the winter time, it's when it's the snow, it's hard to get all the car off the street. So I just wanted to explain the driveway.
So you want to add more driveway to your property?
Yeah,
Yes,
so right now we have a existing driveway that so we essentially just want to remove the tree and just like fill that area in and
You
extend.
want to go to you need to go to the property line?
Well, the existing driveway that we have right now is the way that when we bought the house, that's how it was, and that runs up to the property line.
Okay, so your current driveway, you have a 1-car driveway pathway past the tree, and then past the tree, it opens up, right? From the street?
I'm sorry, just
Okay, so on the graphic that you gave us on the survey, your current driveway has a 1 cut from the curb into your property for 1 car to go up. And then you go past the tree and you have driveway behind that all the way up to your, to the fence line, correct?
yes.
Okay, and so now below that, you have a tree between, by the street.
Yes.
You want to take the tree out and make that all driveway.
Yes.
That's why you're here, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But you're not asking for it to extend the curb cut, are you?
Maybe 4 or 5 blocks.
Just to make room to bring that, the 4th car in.
Do you know how wide your existing driveway is?
How wide it is?
Yes.
It's about 21 feet wide.
Can 2 cars pass in that driveway?
2 cars can fit side by side. You kind of just have to go in at an angle to, like go around the tree.
Right, but if you take the tree down, you're still going to have the curb there.
Yeah. So then we would just cut the amount of curb to just fit that 4th car in.
Okay, but I mean, if the board has looked at the town engineer's letter,
That was my next question.
it's his understanding that the driveway in question is already built. So is this a legalization of an existing driveway, or is it or you're trying to legalize the existing driveway and then try to build out the driveway even more? How was this noticed?
So it would be legalizing the existing driveway and then expand in terms of just getting rid of that tree and just filling in that little like corner where the tree was.
So right now it's more narrow at the bottom and it widens at the top.
Correct.
You want to remove the tree, widen the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so we can fit our fourth car in there.
Okay, and then when the memo says that you must be aware that the existing curb shall not be cut or manipulated, that means you're going to widen the bottom. If I interpret that correctly, you're going to widen the bottom, but leave the curb alone.
Yeah, so we actually did speak to the engineering office about it, and they said that if we were to go through them with the permit, then the curb cut wouldn't be.
Wouldn't be problem. They just say you just have to take the open road permit. That's all.
Yeah.
So the problem that I have is that on your application, what you have is legalized existing driveway. You're coming here now wanting to legalize the existing driveway and then increase the driveway. Nora, how was this advertised?
I apologize.
I
apologize. I don't have the file with me on this, though it was advertised exactly as it's spelled out on the zoning officer's review. So is to legalize, the driveway expansion, contrary to section 430-275X.
So it's to legalize a 202.1 square foot driveway expansion. And again, I'm not an engineer, but is that the expansion which is hash marked on the survey? And if that is,
Then it's existing.
then it's existing. And this is this whole thing about trying to take down a tree and expand the driveway hasn't been properly advertised and shouldn't, quite honestly, be acted on. Is Mr. Chadwick, do you see the measurements on this? Can you?
Yeah, I see other problems. I read the engineer's report. We are not going to permit you to widen this driveway.
Yeah.
Because the maximum driveway in residential zone is 24 feet. He thinks it's 22 feet that wide now. If they take that tree down and widen, you got another set of variances.
Mr. Chadwick, can you help me on that? Because I'm looking at this drawing and the area that has got this lines through it, the graphic part, to me, that's a very small sliver going out to the street. I think the 22 feet is the larger part above. Am I wrong? Because if that part to the street is 22 feet, the part above it's got to be 60 feet.
You you see 12 feet by the garage. So, and you've got 9 feet beyond, so that's where she's getting her 22 feet. You're right.
Well, it says 16 feet.
The driveway is much less than 22 feet.
It looks like it's 16 feet.
Huh? 15 feet maybe?
Well, it says 16 feet in the width of the garage, I guess.
I thought that was the 12.
But it's already been widened, though.
It looks like it was 16.
Yeah.
It's already.
What the plan shows and what she wants to do are two.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're different things. Thank you, Mr. Chadwick.
The application says legalize driveway and expand driveway.
Okay, the plan doesn't show the
But
expansion.
that wasn't in the notice.
Nor does the plan show it. There's still a tree in the plan.
Right.
Yeah.
She's showing the crosshatch where she's going to repair what is pre-existing.
No, that part was already done,
Everything
correct?
after that she's talked about isn't shown on the plan.
the cross hatching was already done, right?
Yeah, so where you see the cross lines, that's already there, which is the existing driveway, and that's how it is when we bought the house. We
Right.
didn't make any changes to it. So essentially we would just be where you see that tree in the bottom. We'd try to remove that tree and just fill in the area.
Again, Bernie, if you look at the residential application, which is behind the zoning department residential application,
Yeah,
it just says legalize existing driveway. The applicant filled this out. The reasons for this are in the subsequent pages. The last page is that driveway is wider at the top and narrower at the bottom compared to other properties. Additional reason to justify the board's approval is property was bought with the driveway as it is. So there's nothing in that request that talks about expanding the driveway. So as Mr. Chadwick said, you know, this application, and again, I don't have the notice, but it looks like the application is just to legalize the driveway, which on the survey is shown in the hash marks. Tonight, the applicant then testified that they wanted to further expand by taking down a tree in that little corner there. And you have the town engineer's letter that I think supports the fact that this application is really just to legalize the driveway.
Yeah, so in order so when we went to the zoning department to talk to them, they said that the area we would fill in where the tree would be is still considered an expansion. So then that's why when we applied for it, it was written as to legalize the driveway expansion.
Unfortunately, that isn't the correct way to do it. I think you understand
I
that.
think, yeah, I think there was some mistake in the semantics. Because the zoning department application and the zoning board application say two different things.
Yeah, because we talked to them and you know, got their input on how to write it in the application, and this is how we were advised to do it.
It's
We could
on.
just have to-
Looks like
You
some
just have to-
misunderstanding went on this application. Applicant actually wanted to legalize the existing one and to expand also where the tree has been cut. So this is a misunderstanding. So is there any way that we can consider both of them in the same?
I think they'd have to renotice. Wouldn't they?
Yes, because right now, I think that you're looking at an expansion of this, you're looking at a legalization of 202.1 square feet. It doesn't say a legalization of the 202.1 square feet and a further expansion of X amount of feet, whatever that is, in that area where the tree is located.
So I believe the 202 is included with the tree.
Again, I'm not an engineer. I don't have that little slide ruler. And I can't measure.
No.
Maybe Chaz, you can help out here on where that 202.1 foot is. Is that the hash mark, or is that hash mark including the area that's not hash marked that has a tree in it?
Because it should be including, because when we brought this to the zoning board, I had to, you know, like draw it out and explain it to Mr. Pizza, and
Here's the thing. The way I read this, when I was going over the packet before the meeting, all I saw was legalized. The tree is in the schema. There's nothing about additional. If I'm a neighbor and I'm concerned about this and I was noticed, I have no clue that tree is coming down and the driveways being widened, which by the way, it's on the property line. Literally, like if there's a fence there, I don't see how you even open a car door.
I mean, there is a fence there. The way it is right now, the way you guys see it in the survey, there's two cars at the top of the driveway. Two cars can fit side by side. At the bottom of the driveway where it's narrow, barely one car is able to fit there.
Well, I bottom line is I agree with Mr. King. I do think this should probably be renoticed and give everyone a chance to fully understand what the intentions are.
Yeah, and I think if you look,
It's also, it's also a problem because you can't scale off of this print because it's a reduced copy.
yeah,
So
well,
that supposed to scale up.
but Chaz, even if you look at the numbers on top of the driveway, it's 8.9. So when you look at the calculations that the zoning officer did, the width that they calculated was 8.9 by a length of 19. That would probably be the bigger solid piece. And then the 3 foot width, to Bernie's point, by 11 might be, I think, is the thinner piece. And that's how they came up with the 202.1. And that would be only the hash marked portion of the driveway. I don't think that includes the expansion where the tree is.
So how long would you estimate? I'm trying to estimate of the survey.
Well, there's a 27. There's a line marking and a number. The far end of the driveway. It looks like 27. I'm using a magnifying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see the 8.9.
Yeah, I see the 27.
And when you add up the lengths, the 19 and the 11, that's 30. So 27 may go to that little corner bump out, and and the driveway expands that little bump out, that could make up your 3 foot, and that probably would be appropriate. But again, I'm not an engineer.
Yeah, the 8.9 times the 27 would be 240.3 square feet.
The zoning denial or summary did not include the tree or the area around the tree.
I'm sorry.
I think you're correct, Pete.
So it appears that
If I
yes,
came to town hall, I would looked at the plan. I don't know the trees being cut down. Whether I'm concerned about it or not is not for us to decide.
So we're gonna put this off until it's renoticed, or?
Well, before this board, how I look at it is you just have a request to legalize an existing driveway, which is 202.1 square foot. You don't have any variant or any application before your request that was properly noticed to expand that. So I think you can either grant the relief that was requested, which was the legalization, but you can't act on the further expansion.
Mr. King, the legalization, the property, they bought the property with the driveway in a hash mark place the way it is, right?
Correct.
Okay, so, but it was never approved. So when they went to ask for the removal of the tree and that, which we're not approving tonight because it's not on the application, they were told that it wasn't ever legalized. Is that correct?
That I don't know.
Okay, so we don't know either. So my point is, if they bought the property that way, why can't this board go ahead and approve the legalization of the existing driveway, and they have to renotice for the tree removal and to make the expansion?
Well, that's what I said.
Okay, good, thank you.
Well, they're talking about them having to file a whole new application.
Because
Whereas here, if we just amend the application, allow them to amend the application to include the expansion, and then put it off for them a chance to renotice with that request as part of any of the notice. They
What
don't
year
have to
did
go,
you buy the house?
they don't have to go through filing a new application all over again. So they're doing 2 applications for
Oh,
one
okay,
driveway.
good point, Bert, again. Okay.
What year did you buy the house?
2007.
Okay.
So when we bought the house, the 3 was already there. So right now, the 4th car we cannot park, and if we park in the street, the winter time when the snow, it's hard to get all the car off, and the police give us ticket. That's why we trying to just remove that tree and just feeling that's the spot. That's all only want to do.
Understood.
So I think there's 2 things you can do, ma'am. You can either adjourn this. You're going to have to amend your application to include that area where the tree is. It'll have to be submitted again to the town engineer because I'm sure he's going to have far more comments. Or what you can do is you can ask the board to approve the legalization of the existing driveway. So you have to tell us what you want to do so the board can.
Yeah, if you do that, you're stuck with the tree.
That's correct.
So, just a question. So when we originally, brought this to Mr. Pizza in the zoning office, and we had told him that this is how the existing driveway is the way it is when we bought the house back in 2007. So and we explained to him what we were trying to do. He said you have to legalize the existing and then also say that you're trying to expand the driveway. So that's how it was filed in the
I wasn't there, and Mr. Pisa is not here to say what he did or didn't say. But this application, it doesn't take into account for that expansion that you want to do. It looks like to us, and again, the survey is not to scale, but it looks like, and from what the zoning officer calculated, and from her face sheet, it says the following variance is required to legalize a 202.1 square foot driveway expansion. It doesn't say to legalize a X amount foot expansion plus increase it by X amount.
Okay, yeah, that's why, because we had Mr. Pizza help us with the
Again, he was not here to say what was said or not said.
Yeah, in my opinion, it is better that you postpone this and make it an amendment to include that the tree portion of the area also included in the expansion side. Does it make sense, Pete?
Yeah, that does. That would save them money, so they don't have to do another application.
Good.
so
All right, so Ms. Sony,
Yes.
I guess what is, you're asking us, this is what you're asking us to amend the application to include removal of the tree and expansion of the driveway. Plus also, I guess, additional curb cut. Which we have to deal with the town engineer on. And once we grant your request to amend the application, then we have to put this off for another date so that you can renotice everybody with the right language. Am I correct?
That you are correct, and also the town engineer is going to want to review this again.
All right. So that's what you're asking us to do, isn't it?
so when you say to amend it and renotice everybody, what do you like, what exactly is the next step for us? We're a little confused.
Well, I guess, could he do it by a letter? And then change, and then obviously they have to redo the notice.
They're going to have to renotice because it's a whole new relief request.
When you notice, you had to send out certified mail to all your neighbors?
Right, excuse me, the zoning officer will have to update her review. I'll create her notice for her and we'll get her taken care of.
Thank you, Nora.
You're welcome.
So we're going to grant your request to amend the application
And adjourn.
adjourn this matter until you have a chance to have these, I guess, whatever needs to be done. Nora will help guide you through what gets to be done next.
Okay, so we're coming back for a
You'll have to
second.
come back again, yes.
Yeah.
And it's,
But I'm guessing it's not going to be until July or August.
oh, that
That's
late?
late.
Unfortunately, we're packed. We are packed. I'll get you on July 14th. It's still early. You won't run into any issues with the winter. So this will give you plenty of time to get yourself,
So we can
approved.
adjourn
For the
to
winter.
July 14th.
With any extensions, required extensions.
With any extensions, and you're granting us extensions, which means that we don't have to make a decision before July 14th, because if we did, it would be against you. So you're going to technically allow us the time to make a decision on July 14th, correct?
So then in the amended version, that's where we would explain the legalizing existing. And then,
And removal of the tree. And if you want to extend the curb cut, you have to mention that also.
okay,
And Nora's going to help you rewrite that so that we are having an application we can approve, okay?
All right, so go ahead.
Right.
Do I have a
I
motion?
don't mean to interrupt. I just want to say one more thing. The problem with the curb cut, the engineer department will not consider that until they have approval from the board to
Yeah, that's a
expand that
separate-
piece of driveway.
That's a separate permit application to the engineer. We
Yeah.
can't approve the curb cut. You have to go to after we approve what you're asking for. If we do, then you go to the engineer and for a permit to expand the curb cut. So it's a two-step process.
yeah, so we actually reached out to the engineering office and they told us that we would get the permit from you guys and then get a open road
Open road permit.
from
They
them.
say once you
Right.
give the permit, then they will give us the open road permit. And
Fine.
for the tree cut,
Okay.
they say they don't have problem
Right.
either. Once we saw
So do I
that.
have a motion to July 14th as previously stated?
So moved.
So moved. Second
Second.
ready. Second ready.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. All right, so between now and July 14th, Nora will tell you what to do.
Okay, so we'll hear from her.
The bad news is that you gotta send all those certified mails out again.
We have
That's
to
the
fix
bad
that.
news. But other than that, you're okay. All right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we did already one time, so we gotta do second time certified mail again too for the.
Yes,
Yes.
because it's
So
gonna
your
be a
immediate
different,
neighbors.
Different application.
because it's gonna be a different notice. You gotta tell the neighbors again what you're doing.
Oh, for the batching. Okay, and okay, so Nora will help us through with everything.
Yes.
You're in good hands.
Okay.
Thank
Okay, thank you so
Thank-
much. Have a good
Thank you.
night. Thank
You're
you.
done for the evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, next is Tanalagana. Mr. Shepis, you're here,
Yes. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all again.
and your client's here.
Oh, everybody's somewhere. Now, the only thing that I would mention is Mr. Walker couldn't join us this evening. He's the project engineer. One of his affiliates are with us, Kevin Robine, and he somehow couldn't make himself a panelist. So he should be out there in the cyber world. If there's any way we can transform him from a passive participant to a panelist, that would be appreciated.
That's Kevin Robine.
Yes,
Done.
Kevin Robine.
It's done.
Oh, terrific.
He just has to unmute and shows his picture.
I'm here. I just now have to figure out how to get the video on. There we go.
Oh,
There I
nice.
I'm here.
Okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
There we go.
Okay, well, if I may just give a brief recapitulation of where we are in this application, and then I'll pick it up with Mr. Robine, and then we have one other witness for you this evening, Ms. Lisa Phillips, a professional planner. This matter was originally before you back in December, on December 2nd, 2020. And then we likewise were here before you in February 10th, and now we're here tonight. Basically, what this comes down to is the site was previously approved for a yoga studio, which is not a permitted use in the B5 zone where the property is located. And the yoga use is still going to continue. We're proposing to demolish all existing structures on the property and build one new mixed-use building. The property is located at 138 North Beverwick Road. The yoga studio would be the second commercial use on the property. Because the use variance already exists, as Mr. Chadwick had opined, we don't have to get a new use variance. But we're here for site plan based on Section 76B of the Municipal Land Use Board, Land Use Law. This board retains jurisdiction for site plan review. So the building was a little bigger, it was reduced. We have eliminated the D3 variance. We're down to a handful of C variances. One of the variances requested is for proposed building mounted signs on the side of the building. If you may recall, the parking lot is on the side of the building, and we're proposing up to 3 commercial tenants in the building. When we were last here, with the input of Mr. Chadwick, my client agreed to 3 building mounted signs no larger than 2 foot by 8 foot, being 16 feet each. If the math is correct, that's 48 square feet of signage on the side of the building. There would also be a conforming sign on the front of the building, which would be about 3 feet 1 inch by 14 feet, and then a conforming freestanding sign in front of the building. We do have a variance with regard to on-site parking and residential buffer. So tonight, Mr. Robine is just going to touch on some loose engineering issues, and then from there, we're going to roll right into Ms. Phillips. So with that being said, I'm going to ask Mr. Robine to be sworn and place his credentials on the record. He is a licensed professional engineer.
Mr. Robine, if you could raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before the board is true so help you God?
I do.
And for the record, are you an engineer?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey.
And have you been qualified before this board or other boards in the state?
Other boards, yes, not Parsippany and zoning board of adjustment.
How many other boards?
I think 20. Various towns, different boards within each town.
And all your licenses are in full force and effect, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Robine is sworn and qualified.
Okay. Very good. May I inquire? Mr. Robine, are you affiliated with the Dykstra Walker Design Group?
Yes, sir.
In what capacity?
I'm a project manager here.
Okay, and you're a licensed engineer on staff,
Yes.
is that fair to say?
Yep.
You work with
That's
Mr.
correct.
Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walker testified previously on this application?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and you're familiar with the project?
Yes.
Okay, now there were a couple loose engineering items that you and I discussed in advance of the meeting. You want to tell the board what you know and then see if you can help close any of these loose ends?
Sure. There was from I've been led to in the prior application or the prior meeting that there was discussion about pushing the sidewalk, not sidewalk, the parking area a half foot away from the building, which essentially the residential buffer along that side would then be reduced to 4.5 feet rather than 5 as previously requested. Just want to make it clear that that's generally the relief granted for the residential buffer that's being sought. Essentially, there was another question about the tree line that's on the east side of the property.
Yeah, now Kevin, do you have the ability to share the screen? Do you have the ability to share the screen?
It's grayed out at the moment. I think I need to be given permission.
Could we allow Mr. Robine to put the plans up on the screen, please?
There we go. Oh. 1 second.
Please confirm the date of any plans that are provided.
Sure. Plans that are shown here are the site plans last revised 1/20/21. There's been no revision since this date. I believe these were the plans that were presented at the last board hearing. So just to recap what we're looking at sheet 3 of the plans, the parking area was going to be shifted a half foot further away from the building to provide more access along the sidewalk.
Kevin, can
So-
you zoom in on that, Kevin? It's,
Yes,
it's
sir.
kind of distant.
Second, please. Using a different laptop today, so it's working through it here. For some reason, it's not letting me zoom at the moment. Things ever simple sometimes. Yeah, for some reason, it's not letting me zoom there, Steve, but
All right, well, you know what, why don't you use the cursor then, so this way
Yeah.
when you're discussing a certain feature, you can point to it, so we're not, you know,
Certainly.
just looking all over the place for what you're talking about.
Yep. So the parking area here was requested to be shifted a half a foot to the south. Excuse me, the residential buffer along this side here would be reduced from 5 feet to 4.5 feet. With that 6-inch half a foot shift. There was also general concerns as far as the planting and the buffering along this side for the residential property to the south. As you may recall from the last meeting, there was discussion with the adjoining property owner on lot 3 as far as the placement of a fence and tree line along that side, where the adjoining property owner requested that the fence be located along the property line than the trees, whereas the original proposal was to have the tree line and then the fence. At the request of that property owner, that was switched over. That did not carry through to the residential property to the south, whereas as the plan currently shows in the landscaping plan on sheet 5, there's a tree row, and then a fence similar to what was previously proposed along the common boundary of lot 3. We're looking to either narrow up the spacing of those trees. Those are green giant arborvitaes. They grow well nested together, and eliminate the fence. Right now, that the condition is there's a chain link fence along the common property line, and the way the plan is kind of configured, there would be a fence, a tree row, and then another fence. Either that or position the fence up against the common property line adjacent to the chain link fence and have the trees on the opposite side, consistent with what would be along the property line with lot 3, the adjoining property lot 3.
So Kevin, what you're showing here, you're proposing now is a concession based on prior input from the board to doubling up the number of green giant arborvitae so that their spacing is half of what's shown here.
Correct.
Okay. In essence, to try and create a hedge of some sort.
Yes.
Okay, and how high, if you know, do these bushes or these trees grow?
In fully mature, they could be 20, 30 feet high on a green giant. Yep.
Okay, so rather than having a bushes fence, you're suggesting to the board, and of course it's the board's decision, I mean, we could give them this, to put a fence either on the property line to match the fence that's there on the neighbor's property, or just go with the bushes, but you're not suggesting putting the bushes between 2 fences.
Correct, that's correct.
All right, do you have anything else you'd like to add, Kevin?
I believe those were the 2 main items that I just wanted to bring up at this point.
Okay, I think we've addressed all the other engineering issues. We went through the engineer's report last time out, and this was the only 2 little pieces of the puzzle that I think we left open. So I don't have any further questions of Mr. Robine.
Anybody on the board have any questions of Mr. Roby?
I have a question. So when we when it was moved away from the building a little bit, are we still talking about, say, a 4-foot sidewalk and a wider no parking fire zone or something like that?
Everything would stay relatively the same. The 4-foot wide sidewalk would remain, and then that additional 6 inches would allow for the curb line along that sidewalk. The parking area would then shift all relative to the property line another half a foot to make up for that half foot at the curb line. No parking. The fire lanes would stay exactly the same, just be shifted to the south.
Just one other question on the residential or the property to the south. I know we have the arborvitae that's proposed. I'm just wondering if eventually will there be any gaps or anything for the parking vehicles that are parked there if they have headlights on?
Essentially, with reducing the spacing width between what we have currently shown to a half that dimension, I believe that goes from 6 feet to a 3-foot spacing. This type of plant, green giant arborvitaes, pretty much form a solid hedgerow when planted with that kind of spacing. It would take a growing season or two to completely fill out to block to fully screen that adjoining property. However, it will provide for a solid hedgerow.
Okay, so the effective field of lights is not expected to be bothersome to the neighbors.
No. Once it all grows through, it should be perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one question. What are the sizes of the giant green arborvitae, right?
Yes.
What are the sizes of planting?
The planted size is based on the height of the tree. They'll be 7 to 8 feet tall.
7 to 8.
planting.
Okay, and you'll have a 3-foot spacing.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any members of the public wish to ask questions? Any raised hands?
No hands raised.
I have
Okay.
one more question. I just wanted to go over one last time the offsite stormwater line. I just wanted to put on the record what's going to happen with the adjoining property owner during the construction activities. How is that going to be maintained as far as access to their property?
For the line that's tying out through North Beverick Road out to the existing inlet, is that the one you're referring to?
Right, because that's
And
very close to
driveway access.
the driveway to that commercial retail, that commercial project there. So I just wanted to allow access.
Yeah, there'll need to be some coordination between the contractor performing the work and that property owner to ensure that they have access to their property that doesn't impact their operations at any given time. It's more of a construction coordination so that their access is provided anytime they need it.
Okay, as long as they coordinated with the other property owner, I think can be sufficient. Thank you. No further questions.
Anybody else? Next witness?
Yes, our next witness is Ms. Lisa Phillips. Ms. Phillips is a licensed professional planner. She should be out there somewhere in the cyber room. Are you with us, Lisa? Can you hear us, Lisa?
Ms. Phillips, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony you're about to give before this board's true so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And for the record, you are a licensed planner?
Yes,
And the testimony you're going to give today is on planning, is that correct?
yes,
All your licenses are in full force and effect?
yes.
And you've qualified before either this board or other boards in the state of New Jersey?
Not this board, but yes, dozens of municipalities, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, the witness has been sworn and all her licenses are in full force and effect, and she's been qualified.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
All right, very good. Ms. Phillips, You've been engaged by Mr. and Mrs. Dunlengata in order to provide planning testimony to this board in furtherance of their request for site plan approval and related variances. Can you tell us, in anticipation of tonight's presentation, what documents you reviewed, both relative to this application as well as planning documents of the township?
Sure. I reviewed the zoning ordinance, the master plan, which was pretty recent. I believe it was October of 2020, so it was a more recent document. Reviewed all of the many iterations of both the site plan as well as the architectural plan, and I was in attendance at both of the prior hearings.
Okay, very good. So let's talk about what variances are requested, and if you would please provide both facts and planning justification for those variants.
Sure. So if I could just go over the property first, because I think it's important to point out the nonconformities that exist before I go into the variances. So the site is 10,900 square feet. It's more than 2.5 times the required lot size.
Ms. Phillips, I hate to interrupt you. Would you like the ability to share the screen so that you can put plans up on the screen? Would that be acceptable?
Sure. I have some photographs, and in case we need the aerial, I do have Mr. Walker's aerial.
Also, there is an existing conditions plan. It's part of the plan set. I think it's sheet number 2. So perhaps we can look at that as well, if that would help.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So those are the photos that were taken last summer by my intern. So you can see the existing site is in the photograph in the upper left. The commercial portion of the property is on the right side. The residential is on the left. So
Ms. Phillips, just as a matter of housekeeping, I'd like to identify those photos. I know they were submitted in advance, but let's put a number on them, and then from there, we can qualify them. I think we're up to Exhibit A5, being the photos that you have here this evening. So why don't we cyberly mark them as A5, and then I'll subsequently send a marked set to the board for their record. So we'll identify this as Phillips Exhibit A5 site photo.
yes, it's 2 sheets, a total of 8 photographs, and the exhibit is dated August 10th, 2020.
Okay, and to the best of your knowledge, do these photographs fairly and accurately represent the conditions of the subject property, adjoining properties, as they're each referenced on the photos and the array?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, very good. So why don't you walk us through the photos, tell us what we see and how it relates to this application.
Sure. So when I was going to discuss the nonconformities, one of them is shown in the photograph in the upper left. We have 2 curb cuts. So when we were discussing the parking situation, the deficit that we have with the new application, we have the same amount of deficit with the existing. So what would be required right now is 7 spaces. We're providing 4 on the site now with 2 curb cuts. So with the new proposal, we're requiring a variance for 3 parking spaces, but we're eliminating one of the curb cuts and we're eliminating the need to back out. So I think that's important for the board to know. It's definitely a safety improvement to what's there now.
Now, Ms. Phillips, just so everybody's clear, the existing property, or the property as it exists today, is developed with the structure that you see there in the first photograph on the top left corner of the screen. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So it's kind of like a ranch style house affixed to a commercial building.
Yes.
Okay. On the right-hand side, I believe it's the yoga studio. Left-hand side is some type of residential structure.
That's right.
Conjoined together as one building.
Yes.
Okay. And it's your understanding this entire thing is going to be demolished?
Yes.
Okay. So please continue.
Okay. The upper right photograph, you can see a portion of the residential building on the far right, and then it's the building that adjoins next to us at the corner, and that houses the UPS store. So you can see the relationship to the 2 buildings presently. The lower left is the Krausers, which is adjacent to the south. And then the next building is a commercial building at the corner of Oneida and North Beverwick. The next series of photographs is on the other side of Oneida. I believe it's like a psychic studio. It's another commercial use. The photograph in the upper right is just the strip commercial properties that exist across the street. And the last two photographs as well just continue north. So the dance studio would be to the south, and then as you head north opposite the site, that's the image that you see of commercial properties on North Beverwick. I'm going to stop sharing right now. Stop sharing. Okay. So in terms of the nonconformities that exist presently, we have an existing mixed-use building with a dwelling unit on the first floor, which is not permitted. We have a buffer along the southerly property line where it meets the residential zone is only 6.3 feet and 15 is required. The number of parking spaces, which I mentioned before, 7 are required. We have 4, so that's a 3 parking space deficit. And again, the parking arrangement with the tandem situation where vehicles have to back into and out of the road, that's also a nonconformity. So the variances that we're seeking are the variance for the residential landscape buffer. So along the east side, which abuts residential property, and then a portion of the southerly side, which abuts the R4 zone, which is residential as well. We don't maintain that 15-foot buffer. In some areas it's 6 feet, and in the area to the south it would be 5.5 feet as testified to this evening. So it has decreased because of the increase in the sidewalk area. So in that area, I'd like to put up another exhibit that Mr. Walker had done, because I think the aerial helps us to see. Yeah, hopefully I can enlarge this.
And for purposes of clarity, this was received on December 2nd, 2020 as Exhibit A2, prepared by Mr. Walker's office.
Yeah. And he's given me permission to use his his document. It's part of the whole team package.
Okay. Now,
So
can you zoom in on this, Lisa?
I'm trying. I did a little bit. Yeah, I'm trying. Taking
Okay.
a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's better.
Is that better? Okay, I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
it's
get it both ends. Okay. So the buffer that we were speaking about earlier is right in here, which is the southerly portion. That dwelling sits all the way back here, and that fronts on Oneida. So you can see there's already some trees and things like that in the back, and then they have a chain link fence. So I think with the arborvitae, the addition of the arborvitae, I think it's going to be sufficient. Of course, the board can make a condition that in the future, if there is any light exposure, that's, a problem with this neighbor, that, we could add something. But right now it is rather far back. And right now they have 2 commercial properties butt up right against to them that don't even have the 10-foot buffer. So we are, trying to ameliorate that variance in this area. And again, it's because the site is narrower than it is long. So this building really needed to be in a perpendicular situation, which created the parking on the side. The buffer on the east side is in here. Now, it's not an encroachment with building. The building is set back to 15 feet. So the dwelling, let me just shift this up. The dwelling on this side, which is on Tioga, I believe it's 25 Tioga, sits back here. So we don't actually abut where the dwelling is. We do not have any windows on this portion. If you can see the cursor, this portion of the elevation, there is a window that's set back that does face east, but it's probably 40, 50 feet back. So I know that was one of the concerns of the board at the last discussion was, is anyone going to be looking out over, into this backyard? But there's no windows on this side. There are windows on the north side, and then there is a window here that does face east. But again, this residential property sits against the UPS store with not much of a buffer, just a fence line in here. So I don't think anything that we're proposing close to either of the residences or the residential properties would have any kind of detriment. And I think what we've done, we've listened to the board, because at one point this buffer was a little narrower. We did eliminate that dumpster location, if you remember. So we did a lot of positive things back here right against the residential property. So I think the board can be comfortable in granting that variance, knowing that the applicant has tried and has put in the fence that was requested by this property owner, and then the landscaping on what would be the subject property site, rather than having it reversed. So we did listen to both the board and the neighbor in terms of that. The other variance that we're seeking relates to the parking. So we're deficient by 3 spaces. I believe initially we had 15 parking spaces proposed, but we were able to manage to, modify that and increase it to 16 parking spaces. So I'm sorry, 13 are proposed, 16 are required and 13 are proposed. At one time we had 12. We did add one space. So again, having the shared parking situation, I think mitigates some of the issues with having the parking variance. It is only 3 spaces. With the elimination of the curb cut along North Beverwick, we do gain an on-street space. And one of the RSIS allowances for seeking a de minimis waiver is that if you have any on-street availability, that can go against it. So ultimately, we're gaining one on the street by eliminating the second curb cut. We've increased what we could on site. So really, it's a variance for two spaces that we're lacking. And again, this is mixed use, and one of the purposes of having mixed use, particularly in these kind of areas, is that you do have a shared parking situation. So I think the board can be comfortable, granting that variance, that the applicant has tried to fit in as much parking as possible. And again, this is in a downtown setting. There is some public parking not too far away. And this is kind of a common situation. Not everybody in your downtown is going to have all of the on-site parking accommodated. We also are located within 2 blocks of residential streets. So if there is any overflow parking, say for a particular event at one of the apartments or something like that, there is on-street parking allowed in the residential areas nearby. So you do have the ability to have, walking distance for people to use that parking. And the final variance is for the number and the size of the wall signs. So I believe a lot of discussion, during the last during the last hearing about the number of signs, the sizes of the signs. So because this building is perpendicular, what would be considered the front of the building is North Beverwick, but what is considered in terms of identifying the location where to access the building from the parking lot is really the southern elevation. So what had been agreed to was anticipating that there may be 3 commercial tenants, that there'd be 3 2-foot by 8-foot signs, and they'd be located above the doorways. And then there'd be a freestanding sign. The freestanding sign does not require any variances. So I think a total of 143 square feet would be permitted if we were using that entire length, if that was considered the front. And what we're proposing is only 48 feet.
Ms. Phillips, do you have the rendering from Mr. Bias, the project architects?
Yes.
Could you bring that up? Because I think that would help.
Sure.
Nice.
Okay, so this is a little different if you recall, because during the testimony, this is when we discussed a little modification to the building. So there's 3 signs and they're not as large as that. So right now this shows the 2, but there will be a total of 3 2 by 8 along the top. So it doesn't look like that exactly. I think there have been modifications made to I don't think the changes had been represented on a plan yet, but the discussion was that we were going with 3. So
And I would remind the board that the applicant agreed that the signs would be, on the building mounted signs would be externally illuminated with gooseneck lighting in order to soften the appearance. Okay.
All right, should I stop sharing that? Do you need that again?
Yeah,
do you
that's
think?
fine. I just wanted to just let everybody
Okay.
see that again.
Sure. So
Is
those,
there a,
those,
is there a presentation material for the freestanding double-sided sign just to depict it? This is based on the 11 by 17 that was provided on January 27th. It has reference to building A and building B. I didn't know if you were going to have a third part of that sign or not for the third business.
You know, we have not, because right now it's only 2 tenants. It's going to be the yoga studio is going to take up 2 of the 3 spaces, and then the front store, if you will, would have another tenant. So right now we're only anticipating 2 tenants in the building. However, in the event that the space is ever broken up, we'd like to have the ability to have the 3 building mounted signs. The freestanding sign in front of the building would be fully compliant with the town's ordinance as far as height, size, location, etc. So it's only going to have 2 tenants listed on it right now.
On the freestanding sign in the front, I made a comment, you would use the pedestal mounting method as opposed to that single pole.
Correct, and we agreed to that. I believe there
Site
was
plan showed it on a pole, and the architect's plan shows it on a pedestal.
yeah, exhibit A4 showed that it was on a pedestal, but yes, it will be the pedestal sign, not the poles.
Fine.
Okay, so Ms. Phillips, can you justify those wall signs since they're not permitted?
sure. Well, again, like I said, it's the orientation of the building. It's the shape of the property. It's narrower and long. So we oriented the building lengthwise. And proportionately, we'd be allowed, if that had faced North Beverwick under the ordinance, we would be allowed to go, I believe, to 143 or 148 square feet. And the total square footage of signage on the southerly elevation is only 48. So I think it's proportional, and I think that's what, there was a lot of discussion, if you remember, at the February hearing about that, about the aesthetics, about how many, you know, about providing people sufficient identification to find each store. And I think we kind of really reviewed it sufficiently. And again, it relates to the size of the lot, the shape of the lot, and the shape of the building on the lot.
All right, is it fair to say, Ms. Phillips, that when people come to this site, they park in the parking lot, these signs will help identify which unit belongs to which store?
Yes.
So in other words, if these signs weren't on this side of the building, you'd have to figure out for yourself which tenant was the one you were looking for.
Right, you'd pretty much have to get up to the doors, and then I anticipate something would be on the doors. But yes, you wouldn't be able to just from the parking lot know which way to head.
Okay, now from a planning standpoint, can you justify these 3 C variances for the board?
Sure, I think when looking at the project in entirety, there's some case law on this that permits a board to look at the application in terms of what's being proposed, what is the entire project, instead of just analyzing each and every variances. I think I did support the individual variances, but if we want to look at this as a whole, we need to look to the Breshman versus Gash case and the Pullen versus Township of South Plainfield cases. In both situations, the court found that a board can analyze the project relative to desirable visual environment, and looking at the entirety of this redevelopment. So looking at the positives where we're taking 2 curb cuts away, we're providing 1, we're taking away the fact that cars have to back out onto a busy county road. We've got sufficient parking, all of those things combined, and then decide, you know, is this sufficient evidence to prove? And I think that besides all the testimony I gave on the 3 individual variances, that looking at this in terms of an entire application, I think the board would feel comfortable in approving this. Also, my analysis had to look at the negative criteria, in particular with the public good, as well as the impairment to the master plan. So I did review the master plan in detail, and there was a lot of discussion. They have broken out certain sections of town that they'd like to see have rehabilitation and or redevelopment. And the North Beverwick Road corridor is one of those areas that's been looked at in detail. and it had particular goals and objectives related to having mixed use. In fact, one of the goals I'd like to read because it is interesting relative to the yoga studio, which I know we received a use variance for. But one of the goals from the 2020 master plan talks about this zone in particular is to expand and the allowable uses, including providing for fitness and recreation classes, multiple permitted uses in one space, and entertainment related uses. Additionally, there's a recommendation to explore adding provisions to the B5 district, which we're in, that promote a mixed use area with high quality design, considering a height of 3 stories where mixed use residential over commercial are provided and required parking can be accommodated on site. So I think this application, fits that to a T. We're taking, kind of a tired old building with a lot of nonconformities, putting up a new building, and I think it's going to generate a lot of positive energy along that frontage too. I think the town wants to see some of these older properties redeveloped. So in terms of impairment to the master plan, I don't believe that there are any. I think that we actually affirm the goals of the master plan. And in terms of any kind of detriment to the public good, the board realizes that the wording is actually substantial detriment. And I think in this case, I really can't think of any detriment proposed. Again, we're making it safer. We're putting in an adequate buffer. We've listened to the board and we've listened to the neighbor that's right adjacent to us in terms of what their needs and wants were in terms of screening. So I think the application speaks for itself at this point. I think I've addressed the positive and the negative, and I hand it back to Steve.
Okay, I don't have any further questions of Ms. Phillips.
Bernie, you want to open it up to members of the public? I think you're muted, Bernie.
No, I'm not. Can't hear me?
Yes, we hear you now.
Can you hear me?
I fixed it.
So it wasn't me. Any members of the public wish to ask any questions of Ms. Phillips? Raise your hands so Nora can see you.
No hands
Any
raised.
No hands raised. Once again, any board members have any questions? Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Phillips.
Thank you.
Mr. Shepherd?
There's no more witnesses, so I would only have a few closing comments, unless there's somebody from the public that would like to make a statement, which I don't anticipate.
Anybody from the public wish to speak in favor or against this application? Please raise your hand.
No
Any
hands raised.
No hands raised. Floor is yours, Mr. Shepherd.
Okay, well, first, everybody, thank you so much for all your time and your input. This is one of those applications that kind of got molded as we proceeded through the review process. And I believe that the input that the board gave, and even some of the neighbors, even though it wasn't during the public hearing, was very helpful. I think that what we ended up with is the best project that one could come up with for this property. We were able to eliminate the D3 conditional use variance, and we were able to come up with some modifications to the building, to the signage, to the buffering that really kind of like puts a good bow on this package. As we come down to it, this is a very unusual circumstance because the board usually, when it hears a site plan application, it's coupled with a D variance, whether it be D3, D2, D1. But that variance had already been granted years ago for the yoga studio, which gives this board jurisdiction. Under Section 76 of the Municipal Land Use Law, you retain jurisdiction for site plan. So we're here just for site plan. The variances that we're requesting are C variances, bulk variances, hardship variances, C2 flexible C variances. I believe the testimony is overwhelming that there'll be sufficient parking in light of the mixed use, the additional on-street parking created by this, that we're up to 13 spaces on site. And I believe the board can be comfortable that this will not represent any detriment and that the site will support itself for on-site parking. As far as the landscape buffer, as you noted from the testimony of Ms. Phillips, the 2 commercial uses next to us don't provide really any buffer. We're providing substantially more. A matter of fact, in most area adjacent to the building, there is a 15-foot landscape buffer, 8-foot high green giant arborvitaes. They grow like 2 feet a year. Probably within 5 years, it's going to be 20 feet high. And I believe that we have enough buffering and separation that the board can feel comfortable that we're providing what the ordinance intends, that there be a buffer between this commercial use and the adjoining residential uses. And I'd also give credit to the project architect, Mr. Bias. He came up with a plan that not only eliminated the D3 variance, but also provides for no windows on the side of those residences, which I think that's helpful. So that you don't have that, the windows looking down on somebody's backyard. And I think he did a great job too with the aesthetics. I mean, really, what do you have now? You got two houses that are stuck together. One's residential, one's commercial. I mean, it's something that really needs to go. And what Mr. Bias came up with is something that Parsippany can be proud of. I think it's really going to look good over there, and I think that it's going to be something that the neighbors are going to appreciate and that the town can be proud of. With regard to the wall signs, it speaks for itself. The main entrances to these stores are off the side. You really need to have some kind of identification for those uses, and that variance, I believe, is readily justifiable as both a hardship because of the shape of the building and location of the parking as well as the C2. So I believe that the three variances have been well proven, and I think the site plan, as confirmed by your engineer, doesn't have any has any concerns that we haven't addressed, satisfies all of the criteria associated with a site plan review. I do mention too that there is a soil movement permit application associated with this, a little over 1,100 cubic yards, which results from the removal of the material from the basement. We submitted for that simultaneously with this application, and we ask that you grant that approval. We did get a commentary memo back from the municipal engineer, and we agree to meet all of his comments as contained in that memo. So for all the reasons stated, we ask that you grant this approval and that this project move forward to construction and eventually a benefit to the neighborhood. And hopefully there'll be more to come in this area of town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shippers. Does anybody think we need to go into conference? Or does somebody want to make a statement about this case?
I
I'll
can
make a
make a
statement.
statement. Oh, okay,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead, David.
Okay, my statement is, Ms. Peters has been here for 2.5 hours. Thank you for that. But the other statement is this applicant clearly is responded to the requests of this committee and the input from the neighbors. I think they'll make a nice addition to the neighborhood. I'm still a little not real thrilled about the parking thing, but I guess that'll be overcome. And so I'll be voting in favor of this application.
Anybody else want to make any comments or somebody want to make a motion?
Let me make a motion.
Good.
Application 20:18, Janalagadda, 138 North Beverick Road, Block 511, Lot number 2, Zone B-5 to issue or grant a preliminary and final major site plan with the C and D variance for construction of a mixed-use building.
All right, so do we need to include that we're granting the soil removal permit?
Is that part of this application? If so, yes.
And subject to the reports that been filed by our experts.
Did they apply? Did the applicant apply for the soil moving permits?
Yes. Yes. Mr. Shepard indicated
Yeah.
that it was part of the application.
Okay, then it is included in the approval process.
Is there a second?
I think you had
Second
did you
percent.
make this subject to all the items they agreed to. I didn't hear that.
I said that, but I may have
Oh, you
said
did? I
I may have
apologize.
said it wrong, but I said something.
The audio
Yeah,
tonight.
That's included, yes. That'll be in the resolution. Was there a second?
Second percent.
Okay. I guess we call the roll at this point.
Berkowitz,
Yes?
Jaskowitz, Kaplan,
Yes.
Parikh,
Yes.
Prasad,
Yeah.
Ready,
yes.
Willens.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate all your time and consideration.
Thank you,
A
Mr.
nice
Ship.
night.
Good luck, good luck to your clients. Do we have any other business before the board?
I would just say, Mr. Berkowitz, I want to thank Nora for hanging in there all night tonight. I know she's not feeling great, second shot. So bless you, Nora, get some sleep.
Take some
Thank you.
Tylenol. It helped me.
Thank you.
And Nora, I was chairman. Shouldn't you supposed to call me last, not first?
Probably so.
Motion to
Yeah.
adjourn?
Give her a break, Bernie, come on.
Motion to adjourn? That's why I didn't say anything.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Good night, all.
Have a good
All in
night.
favor?
Good night,
Have a
everyone.
good night,
I feel
everyone.
better now.
Oh,
Good night, everybody.
See you next week.
Mr.
next month.
King, can we talk later? Is Peter still on?
He's gone.
Okay, all right. I was
So,
just concerned about that Sonia case today about being ill-advised from our town, I guess. So anyway. Okay,
we'll never know.
yeah, bye.